back to Hot Rod Guy Garage. Today's video is going to be a little different. I have a bunch of stuff I need to do on most of the projects at the house. So let's get into that. So follow me along through the intro and I'll be back. Alright guys, so sometimes these projects just build up and I don't get the chance to put it all on video. So in this case, I got the Swift in here at the shop. I'd swap the wheels for the ones off Barney. And when it's full of gas, the rear tires rub just a touch. So that's something I need to address. Among other things that's going to be addressed in this video, I got to do some work on Fretro. Got to do some work on the red Torino. Probably scale it and get some weights. So I'm going to lump everything into this one video. So stay tuned and let's see what we get into. So we're going to start this out with the Swift. So I put the Bassett wheels off Barney onto the Swift, and as you can see, they're pretty flush. So they don't rub in the front, but back here in the back, I'm getting a little contact in this area, especially with wheel well. So to remedy that, I have already rolled this side, and I was fixing to get ready to start on this side, if the camera will focus. So what we have here is a fender well roller. And what we're going to do, we're going to roll this lip up through here. And as you can see, we have just a little bit of paint contact right here where our paint's been rubbing off. So that will remedy that situation and keep us from rubbing on the tire in this area. So, I know my Geo and Swift content ain't a big hit with a lot of you, but stick with me because this applies to about everything that you need to roll the wheel wells on. Keep in mind, a tire that rubs is a dangerous situation. And I'm going to show you one of those situations here right about now. So guys, this is not one of my cars, but what happened with this car, the tires were rubbing. As you can see here, it's got some pretty bad cut marks on it. And what happened, this thing hit a pothole. The tire caught the quarter panel right here. And it destroyed the whole car. Keep in mind, this stuff was pushed up against the tire. So what happened, once that tire locked up in the wheel well, this car spun around the road, slid backwards, and totaled it. So that said, anytime you have a tire rubbing, you need to address it. Make sure it is not a safety concern. So let's get to that. So one of these fender lip rollers are really easy to use, guys. And I like to set up 2 floor jacks on the car. That way I can kind of modulate the height. Especially on these small cars. And I'll show you that here in just a moment. But you need to make sure that you use all 4 lug nuts to secure it to the hub. And these don't have to be crammed down tight, but I will run them down until they just touch. Like so. So, once your fender well roller is secured, I'll use a second floor jack under a pinch seam to kind of modulate this height if there's not enough adjustment here. This is really only applicable on smaller cars that you'll have to do something like this. But none the same, the process is going to be the same. So if you got a car with good paint, you want to take a heat gun and lightly heat this paint until it's warm. This car does not have good paint, so to get this started, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a dead blow hammer right here, and I'm going to, in a small section, kind of get a small bent up angle started. And what that's going to do is going to ease how I roll this. So what you're going to do, I'm going to start this over here where I started here, and I'm going to adjust my angle to kind of match. Match that starting little angle I started right there. And I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it so I can work this with my hand. Coming back and forth. Now sometimes you'll have to get in here and change this angle just slightly, like this, if you have an area that is going to be tough to kind of roll. And we have one of those up here at this frontal point. So I changed the angle a little bit, which is going to help quite a bit. And with this process, you just want to kind of go slowly. And you want to stay mindful the whole time as what this lip is doing, along with watching your paint. So once I get it where it's starting to roll up on an edge, I will flip my roller to a different angle right here to start to push this lip flat back. And what you want to do, you want to end up with that lip being a V shape. Or in my case, you forget to tighten the nut up in the roller and this pops out just like it did before. So, got everything tightened back up. And what you do, you're just going to work this thing until you start to get that V shape. And when I say V shape, I mean you're starting to get this thing rolled upward. So, as you can see, I'm on a pretty much like a 45-degree angle here at this point, and I'm working on pushing this inside lip close as I can to this outside lip. So that's it, guys. Let's get back to it. This is not a very fast process. You have to go slow. You have to check your angles. And you have to pay attention to what your metal's doing around it. So at this point, I got a pretty good little V right there. I'm gonna go in here, loosen this thing back up a little bit. I'm gonna raise it up just a hair more and adjust this angle to its straightest position downward. I'm gonna check my height through the curve. Then I'm going to tighten this dude up a little more. I'm just going to work it between these 2 points. And for my application, that right there is probably enough of a rolled lip. So what we got, as you can see, it's rolled all the way down. And yes, it did crack the paint right there. Just send that down to it shut up. But you can go as far as actually flaring this lip with this, as long as you're slow and patient. And we also got Daisy over here hanging out. But that said, guys, you can buy these things for less than $100 online. They're well worth having, and could save your car in the end, especially if you put a tire on there that rubs as bad as the other one did out there. So let's get on to project number 2, and we'll see what happens. And we're on to project 2. Now I've done started on project Fritro this morning, so let me flip it around and I'll show you where I'm at. Alright, where I spliced the fenders on Fritro, I went in here and seam sealed it yesterday. Come in here this morning, hit it with some undercoating. I need to rattle can a little paint over top of that, paint the inside of these fenders. Got all under the hood seam sealed and in some kind of primer. I'm coming here and spray a little black paint. And then hopefully this afternoon we can get the bumper and the fenders and the headlights bolted back in and start on that radiator and the other part of the project. But first, and I've also brought my scales home so we can weigh the red Torino. That way we can figure out what it weighs now. So let's get the inside of these fenders sprayed, and then we can move on to the third project of the day, which involves the Swift again, and I'm going to try to get some AC up on it. So let's get these fenders sprayed. And yes, I know the inside of the fenders aren't beautiful, and they're not going to be. Keep in mind, Freetro is a race car, so as long as the little bit of a seam that's got on the backside sealed, waterproof, it won't be no issue. So at least I can get all that stuff pulled back on the car, and we can continue on with that project. Well, the inside of them sprayed, that's good enough. Moral of the story, it's just there for kind of emotional sport. You know, it's not going to hurt anything, but it could help. So let's move on to our third project of the day and see if we can get some AC up on this Swift, and then we move on to the Torino. Well, been pulling the vacuum. Everything seems okay. I changed the dryer down there. It's got a new compressor on it and a bunch of 134A swap over stuff that was in the hatch. So hopefully everything will go well. That said, I'm not a super big AC guy, and if it'll work, you know, I'm gonna leave it on there. If it don't work, we're gonna pull out and put turbo on it. So, you know, maybe it'll work, at least for summer. This turned into one of those, it was a good idea until it wasn't. So I charged AC up, everything was going fine. Found out the compressor relay was bad, changed it. Compressor run, pressure's come back, but it still wasn't cooling. Well, the condenser fan wasn't running. Well, I know you're not going to be able to see out there, but I'll flip it around here in a second and I'll show you what kind of fun I've been in for the past 2 hours. So I dug through all my parts and I pulled out a couple different condensers and a couple of different fans. That fan right there is good. I have tested it. The fan out of the car I took out in multiple pieces trying to, you know, make it easier here, but you can, without pulling the bumper off of it and radiator out of it and everything else, get that fan off that condenser. It is very much not fun. Oh, and I broke my intake boot too, so yeah. So basically, so far, it's turned into one of those things I wish I'd never messed with it. So let me get this fan back on here, and hopefully here in the next little while, which will be mere seconds for y'all, but hopefully here in the next little while, I'll have this thing up and going. Well, about 4 hours later, okay, from when I started this AC mess, we got cold air blowing out of the vents. So there's at least 4 different condenser fans between the Swifts and the Metros. I had 3 of the other variants, and one of them was pretty close, and I made it work. It's not right, and it don't bolt up right, but it'll work. At this point, that's about all I can ask for without swapping the condenser and, you know, the AC lines and a bunch of other mess. So, that said, I am sick of messing with that thing today. I had planned on getting Freetro's sheet metal bolted back on next, and then, you know, scaling the Torino. So, made a skip Freetro's for today, and get this Torino on some scales and see what we got. We got all our scales laid out on the floor, zeroed out. So now it's time to get this thing jacked up and get weight. So as I walk up here in front, anybody want to take some guesses down in the comments below? Because I've not even looked at it yet. But I just did. And it's a little bit lighter than it was with the big block in it. Got all those guesses down in the comments yet? Pretty surprised. Considering, that thing's all cast iron with turbo and stuff strapped on it. So, I'll flip it around and I'll show you. For 3,460 pounds. I had to do the weight split math there, but it weighed 3,650 pounds before with a big block in it. It's got a half a tank of fuel in the car. And other than that, it's set up just like it is. Literally, the only thing's changed in this car is the motor setup. So, I've done that math. It's 57.6% on the front and 42.4% on the rear. Can't ask for much better on one of these cars. Without a bunch of added weight in the rear or taking a bunch of weight off the front. The green car, for example, weighs 3,550 and it's got a 50-50 weight bias. But to get that, I had to add weight to the rear of it. So, the good thing is the corner weights on this thing are still really good. Looks like you use about 20 pounds in the right rear. But other than that, guys, it looks pretty good. So, of other things to update with the 70, I did get that exhaust manifold / intake manifold combo swapped out. Ended up doing a bunch of flattening on the manifolds and actually doing a little welding to fix some pits in them. So hopefully we won't have an issue there. And for later, I've got a set of lighter wastegate springs to put in those wastegates. And there with the spring that's in it, these should give us about 15 pounds of boost. So I might just go ahead and swap those wastegate springs. I was really wanting to get this thing to run that number on 10 pounds. I think it will, and I may go back Tuesday and run it before I turn it up. But since there wasn't enough material for any one project today to make a video on, I just decided to update you on all of them. So the Torino update's pretty small. I just wanted to get it back on the scales, get some weight data, where I can compare it with my ET mile an hour data, so I can have some kind of idea of what this setup's making. Numbers don't lie. So I planned to put this thing on the dyno, but it just didn't pan out. I actually asked the guy with the dyno about touching up tune on the mid-engine car. I tuned it to my ability, and Project Phoenix is maxing out the mass air meter. He said he knew a way around it. I'm a speed density tuner. I am not a mass airflow tuner. So I was going to take it to him, let him touch up that tune. At the same time, I was going to take 70 and try to get some numbers out of it. But it's been about 4 weeks and I've not heard nothing from him. So, you know how that goes. So I done the ET mile an hour horsepower calculator data. It's making about 300 horsepower on 10 pounds of boost. Kind of underwhelming, but remember I set this motor up to run 28 to 30 pounds of boost. I don't expect anything to really start happening until it crosses that 20 pounds of boost threshold. So let's say we need to turn up the boost a little. So I guess let me knock this thing off these scales. Well, not necessarily knock, but jack it up and get it off these scales. And it's still daylight outside, so let's see if we can get the front end bolted back on free trail. Well, got one fender bolted on free trail. Let's get the other one bolted on. Finding the bolts is the big thing, because merging these two fenders, I've got a couple of extras that I didn't have before, so let's get to it. Well, that's how today's going. Just throw your phone on the floor. It's been about the flavor of it, so. We'll get these headlights in here, guys. I got that one down in there. So, I'll be back. And I've been plugging along. It don't look like a lot's happened, but all the screws are in the bumper. Turn signals are down there, marker lights, whatever you want to call them. Hood brace is back in here. Got the wiring harness laid out. This OBD2 harness. The only thing left to hook up under the hood is the ground to the body, and it goes right there. I got the battery tray stuck in it. So I guess I'm gonna try to stick this radiator and hoses back on it, and then might call it a night then. Because at this point it's starting to, I know it don't look like it out there, but it's starting to get a little hazy and kind of darkish. It's about 8 o'clock at night at this point. So I'm gonna try to get this radiator thrown in there, get the hoses on it. Hopefully I can acquire a jack shaft this weekend. I get some axles ordered, and we might be able to see this thing move maybe in the next week or two. And alright, got the overflow tank, the radiator, the upper hose, the lower hose that runs all the way around through here is in there. So other than a couple little small things to tidy up, like I got to bypass that heater hose into the lower hose steel tube down there, brake booster vacuum line, a couple of vacuum line caps on the firewall. We should be pretty close to being able to fire this thing up, other than some fuel lines and axles. So guys, that's pretty much how a normal weekend for me works. I add in a car show or two in between, and it's wide open. I pretty much go wide open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Project Freetro has made leaps and bounds today. Got the AC up on the Swift. We know what the Torino weighs. I still got some work I need to do on the SVO, Project Phoenix, and the Green Torino. But sometimes you just can't get it all done in one day. So I figured I would let y'all kind of see what a normal day kind of consists of. I work on just about everything I own on the weekends. Most of the time I'll split off and make a video for a specific car, or the Swift, or the Torino, or the SVO, or whatever. But sometimes it just don't happen that way. And that's been one of these weekends where I needed to kind of take some time and knock out some major stuff that I need to address. So hopefully somebody enjoyed this video. So if you did, make sure you hit that like button, share it with your friends. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, like 88% of my watchers are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you anything, and it does help me grow the channel, which means I can bring you more content like this. So if you are a subscriber, I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all at the next video. Thanks for watching.